Welcome to Smex Ed. Class is in session.
I'm your host, Amanda King, and I'm here to teach anybody who wants to fucking listen how to have the audacity to say fuck it to societal standards and live their most authentic life. This podcast is dedicated to bringing the sexual conversations we have behind doors onto the main fucking stage. Because sex, masturbation, squirting, guess what? It is all normal. And by bringing these conversations to the forefront, we help people feel less alone in this world. We help them feel safe. We help them gain their power back. We help them step into their confidence and express themselves sexually in this world unapologetically. Because it takes fucking audacity to be your truest self. And we have a boatloads of audacity all up in this bitch. So let me ask you this. Are you ready for some epic shit?
Hello, everybody. So we're going to discuss the G-spot today because the G-spot is the most controversial topic right now in sex education because there is a lot of people questioning whether the findings in 1950 are actually accurate and the G-spot does exist and or does it exist in every single woman. So in this training, we are going to discuss the original findings of the G-spot, some findings currently that are saying that the original findings are not correct. We are going to discuss if there is a G-spot, what is it, how do you find it, positions to find it in. We are going to discuss some G-spot toys that may pique your interest if you're looking to explore your G-spot, and I'm going to answer some G-spot questions. The G-spot was discovered in the 1950s by a scientist named Ernst Grafenberg. He is known for developing the IUD and his studies for the role that the urethra plays in women's orgasm. His studies also concluded that there was an erogenous zone within the woman's vaginal canal that, when stimulated, can produce an orgasm, which he named after himself, called the G-spot. His studies became kind of mainstream and popularized in the 1980s, but there are some indications that his original work was messed with a little or misconstrued when it was brought to the general public. A little after his studies were popularized, there was a lot of studies that were contradicting the existence of the G-spot within every single woman. Some of these studies are survey-based, basically where they ask women, hey, do you feel stimulation in this area or not? Some of the studies were done on cadavers. There's a specific study, I think it was done by the Journal of Health and Medicine, where they dissected 13 female cadavers to see if this spot existed in all of them, and it didn't. So there is a lot of studies coming forward right now that is saying, hey, listen, the G-spot, it may not exist, or if it does exist, every single vulva owner may not have it inside of her. Once again, female pleasure is so elusive to the scientific community. There's even a textbook that refers to the G-spot as the gynecological UFO. It has many sightings, but no confirmation of existence. And although these studies have come to light, the sex toy world believes the G-spot exists because it's easy to use to market toys for that specific area. So when you're looking at the grand scheme of things, every vulva owner may not have a G-spot, and that is totally okay. Just because you may not have a G-spot does not mean that you cannot experience vaginal orgasms, right? If we look at female pleasure, there are 12 different types of orgasms that a woman can have. The G-spot is only one of those 12 types. So it's okay if you don't have it because you can still experience pleasure to its max. Now, how do you discover if you have a G-spot? My biggest piece of advice is to do self-exploration through self-pleasure. So practicing by yourself, reaching this spot, stimulating, and seeing if it causes an orgasm and or some type of sensation. If you were looking to figure out whether or not you have a G-spot, you need to know that the G-spot is about between 1 to 3 inches within the vaginal canal. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take about 2 fingers, lubricate them really well, and stick them up into your vaginal canal. You can do this with a toy as well, but sometimes it's a little bit easier with your fingers to be able to feel it, kind of move them around. You're going to want to go into the vaginal canal between 1 and 3 inches. Then you're going to want to do kind of like a come hither motion with your fingers. And it's okay to move them around too while they're inside of you. Like if you go an inch up and you don't feel anything, go another inch, do the exact same thing. If you start to feel some type of stimulation, kind of telltale signs of orgasms, right? Maybe it's your nipples harden, maybe it's you get the chills, maybe it's you get this warm feeling inside of you, you have the G-spot. And I will also state that just because you have a G-spot doesn't necessarily mean every time you stimulate the G-spot, you are going to have an orgasm or a climax. That's why I said, if you're up there and you're feeling your way through it, if you're starting to feel that you're getting more aroused, that is a sensation, right? A sensation you can correlate with a potential orgasm. Therefore, the spot exists. If you're up there fishing around and it doesn't feel like anything, that's okay too. What you have to realize is that only 18% of vulva owners can have penetrative orgasms. So if you cannot get off via penetration, doesn't matter if you have a G-spot or not, it's not going to cause an orgasm. So that's just a little bit of information I feel everyone needs to hear. And also you will find a lot of people will say that G-spot stimulation correlates with female ejaculation and or female squirting, meaning that's how women squirt. And that's not true either, right? Every single woman is individualized. So to sit here and say, hey, this person squirts from a G-spot orgasm and so everyone squirts that way, is a lie. I know a lot of women who squirt from a spot, from clitoral, from nipple, anal. It really depends on the woman, her comfortability, how safe she feels in the moment. So it doesn't, the G-spot, I don't want to say it doesn't make a massive difference, but it really doesn't make a huge difference whether you have one or not. Don't make it mean anything about you. You're not broken. You don't need to be fixed. It's just an erogenous zone you don't have, and there are plenty of others that you can explore. And now back to discovering whether or not you have a G-spot. There are kind of 3 different types of positions that you can explore if you are looking to see if you have a G-spot. I read this on Too Timid's blog. Love this. Want to share this with my audience. Position 1 is laying on your back, propping a pillow underneath your butt to kind of elevate your pelvis, then bringing your legs back towards your chest, using your fingers and inserting them vaginally to try to find it. Another position you can try is getting on your hands and knees, putting a pillow underneath your tummy or something to support you basically, and then spreading your knees wide while you're on all fours, sticking your hand with 2 of your fingers in between your body and trying to enter vaginally that way. And third, probably the most physically challenging, is frog squatting. So having your legs kind of in a frogger position and squatting onto your fingers. And also you can use any style penetrative toy to achieve the same effect if you don't want to use your fingers, or it's a little awkward to try those positions with your hand. Now, when it comes to G-spot toys, typically you are going to have single action toys, which are specifically toys that are designed to hit your G-spot. And they're very long, very sometimes narrow, very thick, or you're going to get dual action style vibes. Dual action is to provide some other type of stimulation, typically clit stimulation, to those who want G-spot stimulation as well. Dual action toys come in a variety of shapes and sizes. As you can typically see, sometimes they're a little bit more narrow, sometimes they are much thicker. I featured a toy on my Instagram called the Jillian's G-Spot Vibe. This is it. This is a great beginner style dual action G-Spot vibe, and that's because of the size and the flexibility. So the size is no more than 3 inches. It has clitoral stimulation with these little nubs, and it comes with the remote so that you can insert the toy and control it with the remote. It is reasonably priced. I think it's under $40, and I think it's the best beginners G-spot vibe, like I said, because of the size, the flexibility, it fits every body, and just the easiness of it all. When you are looking at G-spot toys, typically you want to consider the length, the type of stimulation, whether it's single or dual, and obviously the price point. If you've never used a G-spot toy before, don't be going and breaking the bank and buying $100+ toy to find out that you're not really into that type of stimulation. So starting out with a lower base toy about under $50, like the Jillian from Too Timid, is the best way to explore your body if you don't want to use your fingers. I know a lot of people get, I don't know, creeped out or weirded out a little bit about using their fingers, or they just don't like that type of stimulation. It's not enough. It feels weird. It's kind of like your hands cramp, your arms hurt trying to do it. So look for a toy that's going to suit your body's needs. So let's answer some of the questions I've received about the G-spot. Does the G-spot have anything to do with vaginismus? I don't really think so, because when that happens, it is a tightening or a spasm of the muscle of the vaginal canal that's against your control. So basically your vaginal canal tightens up so that you can't penetrate it with anything. This can stop sex, it can stop medical exams, because you literally cannot get inside of you. And you can't really stimulate the G-spot if you cannot get anything inside, if you can't penetrate yourself. So what I highly suggest is, one, talking to a doctor, which I'm sure you already did. And number two, getting a vaginal dilator. These are tools that help stretch out the vaginal canal slowly so that the pain is decreased and it helps with the spasms. Where are all, or what are all of the different G-spots? Now this is where it gets confusing with lingo, because there's only one G-spot, but a lot of things are referred to as the G-spot. For example, the P-spot, which is the prostate orgasm in men, is referred to as the male G-spot orgasm. But there is only one G-spot. But there are other style penetrative orgasms that a woman can have. Remember when I said there were 12 types of orgasms that a woman can have? The ones that are penetrative are G-spot, or the vaginal orgasm, A-spot, which is the anterior fornix orgasm, cervical orgasm, and then there is one outside, which is an external orgasm, which is a urethra orgasm, which all at some point have been referred to as G-spot orgasms, but they're not. There's only one. What's the best technique to find the G-spot if you have a G-spot? Because remember, not all of us may have them. Is to use your fingers. Once again, you want to go 1 to 3 inches inside of the vaginal canal, being well lubricated, and you want to do a come hither motion in order to feel if you have some type of stimulation. You can also refer back to my other videos and trainings on the 3 different types of positions to put your body in to try and discover if you have a G-spot. Also, use toys. If you do not feel good about using your fingers, don't be afraid to buy some G-spot stimulation. Am I hitting the G-spot if she's coming over and over again via penetration? Maybe. Maybe not. Female pleasure, so elusive. So you could be hitting the G-spot if she does have a G-spot, but once again, like I stated, there are other aspects inside the vagina, or other erogenous zones, there we go, that you could be hitting. So you could be hitting the G-spot, you could be hitting the A-spot, which is located a little further up into the vaginal canal, around 6 inches, or you could be having a cervical orgasm. A cervical orgasm is a deep penetrative orgasm that happens between 6 and 8 inches inside the vaginal canal. And this is how you kind of stimulate all of them. When a woman is fully, or like not aroused, her vaginal canal is between 1 and 4 inches. The more aroused she becomes, the more her vaginal canal stretches out in length, going upwards to 8 inches. Meaning during penetrative sex, you could be stimulating 1 erogenous zone or 3, or a bit of each every single time. It's all dependent on the person. Squirting technique. There is no technique in order to make someone squirt, because we are all different individuals, and what makes us squirt is different in every single person. Number one, we have to recognize that not every vulva owner has the ability to squirt. About, on average, studies say 50% of women have the ability to squirt, and only 5% have the ability to ejaculate, which are 2 different things as well. What type of stimulation causes them to do that varies dependent on woman to woman. Also, other variables on that are if it's a first time with a partner, or if it's multiple times with a partner, so her comfortability, her safety in it, when she feels the most safe is typically when she's able to relax enough to be able to make that happen. And sometimes, whether she's a beginner or someone who is a bit more experienced in squirting, that's a variable too, because it really depends on the situation and the person. How to locate it and how to strengthen the pelvic floor with it. So we've already gone over how to locate it multiple times. What you want to do in order to learn how to strengthen the pelvic floor is get what is called a Kegel ball. They come in a variety of shapes and sizes. They come in literal balls or they come in specific toys. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to practice inserting these toys inside of you and doing Kegel exercises, squeezing the toy. This is going to help you strengthen your pelvic floor muscles. And you can also do Kegel exercises without inserting anything inside of you either. You basically want to sit, you want to clench yourself, hold it for like 3 to 5 seconds, release. Do it again, release. Strengthening your pelvic floor with these exercises can also help intensify your orgasms because you can kind of control the contractions of them. I had a hysterectomy. I can no longer have G-spot orgasm. What's up? Having a hysterectomy can change vaginal orgasms. This is because once the uterus is removed, it can be hard for your muscles to contract the way they used to when it was there. Also, with a hysterectomy, there can be sometimes some nerve damage to the nerves that go to the cervix. One, always consult your doctor if something is up and you've noticed something has changed, just so they can make sure nothing is wrong post-surgery. Number 2, start exploring with other methods or modalities of stimulation. So for example, nipple stimulation, anal stimulation, urethra stimulation, clit stimulation, all types of external stimulation that can cause orgasms without you being penetrated vaginally. Is the G-spot hit every time? Are there other factors that can affect it? I already kind of answered this one, but we'll do it again. Is the G-spot hit every time? Honestly, it depends on the person. You could be hitting G-spot, you could be hitting cervical, you could be hitting A-spot. So there are a variety of erogenous zones within the vaginal canal that you could be stimulating during penetrative sex. And remember, with erogenous zones, it doesn't necessarily mean every time you stimulate those erogenous zones, you are guaranteed to have an orgasm, because there are other factors that come into play when it comes to orgasms as well. Remember, safety, comfortability, shyness, getting in your head with disruptive thoughts. All of these factors can influence whether or not someone has an orgasm via penetrative sex. Even if the sex is super great and they love it and it feels really good, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to have an orgasm from it. And that is all that I have for you all today. As always, if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out on whatever platform you are hearing and or listening to this on and ask the questions. That way I can get up and address them specifically for you. As always, thank you so much for being here. If you have listened to this entire training, you are now more educated and knowledgeable than a lot of people around you. So that's pretty fucking amazing. And as always, for those who ask the questions, thank you so much for trusting me and just feeling safe enough with me to be able to ask those questions. That means a lot to me.
Thank you so much for listening to Smex Ed with Amanda. And some parting words for you today. Remember this: no matter how hard society pushes you down, no matter how many times you fall, as long as you get the fuck back up, they can never stop you. You are unfuckable with. You will win. Don't allow this world to dictate how you show up in it. Don't allow society to make you bend the knee. Instead, make them bend theirs. And don't forget, if you like what you heard, go on to iTunes and Spotify and leave your girl a review. Until next time, my beautiful people.